People talk about it all the time, and that's what you want, is you want your business to be tellable. Talk about referrals and stuff like that, but if you don't give them a reason to talk about you to begin with, when was the last time you went home, you sat down at the dinner table and you said, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened at the oil change today.
Welcome back to the Thoughts on Selling podcast. Today, it is my pleasure to have Vance Morris joining with me to talk about all things regarding customer delight. Vance has deep experience in this area, and I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. Good morning, Vance.
How are you, Lee? Good to see you, sir.
I'm great. How are you, Vance?
I am living the dream. Any better would be a sin.
Well, let's not cross that invisible line, right?
Let's not.
Not at least until 4 o'clock. So first question, who is Vance Morris?
I've been trying to figure that out for the last 58 years, but Vance is an enigma. No, I'm just kidding. Personally, I grew up in the beautiful Garden State of New Jersey, where I learned first and foremost, customer service will make you money. This is my theory about the downfall of American society, is that young teenagers, don't have any way of earning money because adults have taken over newspaper routes and lawn mowing. I don't know about you, but my Wall Street Journal and my newspapers are delivered by an adult here. That's their job.
That's right.
When I was growing up, as a 14-year-old, it was my job.
That's right.
And I remember having to go out with the little tickets, and I would collect money in the evening from people. And where I learned customer service is when I had to go out and collect the money, people would say, hey, I want my paper between the screen door and the storm door, or I want it tucked under the mat so it doesn't blow away. And when I did those things, I made tips.
Right.
Golly. So it was really my first introduction to customer service, to working. My mama didn't do my route for me. When I was sick, she said, well, you're going to get your happy butt in the car and I'll drive you around, but you're still going to do it. It's your job. It's like, okay. And I just think that's something that's missing these days is, well, one, mamas are doing it for people. That's a whole nother story. But is that there's a lack of opportunity for young kids to learn the basics of having a job, of showing up on time, work ethic, and then that basics of customer service. I spent some time. I moved up to Massachusetts, went to college for some odd reason. I don't know why. I can't remember what the hell I got out of it, except that I got to play in a rock and roll band, which paid for school. So thank goodness for that.
Hence the long hair. Is that where that came from?
Yeah, this head? Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I was talking to another podcast host in Australia, and he actually pulled a picture. I have a picture of me playing in the rock band on my website. And he pulled that off and plopped it into our pre-production meeting. And then he pulled his picture out from when he was in a rock band in the 80s and plunked his in. And he had the hair. He had the hair. He must have been standing in front of a fan because it was just one of those 80s hair band photos.
Right.
Perfect. I never could pull it off. And I spent the next decade at the Disney company. So really learning.
Wait, before you were at Disney, you spent some time in food retail.
Just a little bit. I spent about a year working for a family-owned Pizzeria Uno in Springfield, Massachusetts, where nothing happens.
Basketball Hall of Fame happens there.
Well, we did have that. Other than that, not a much. But my old college roommate was a recruiter for Disney, and I got sick and tired of living in the middle of nowhere. And my interview went like this. Hey, Paul, thinking about moving to Florida. Do you have any positions open at Disney? He says, yeah, come on down. This was in the Eisner years, and Disney was growing like bananas. They're hiring thousands upon thousands of people. And I honestly think they wouldn't do an interview like that today. But then I probably wasn't the only one that they did that to either. They were just like warm body theory. Come on, get in here.
Driving the bus from the Northeast down to Orlando to fill the slots.
Exactly. So I spent the next decade there. I was in hospitality, so hotels, all their resorts. And I think the biggest lesson I got there, in addition to how to be nice and how to pick up trash and all the things that Disney is known for, were systems and processes. And Disney runs on those things. And without them, as I found out later on, the whole darn thing would fall apart. So Disney has a process for everything.
Right.
You want to change a bus tire? They got a process for it. You want to carry a tray in a restaurant? They got a process for that. You want to create a queue line for autographs for Minnie Mouse? Boom, done. And what I learned, though, is that these processes give you freedom. For an employee, once you learn the process and it becomes automatic, it's just muscle movement and it's rote and you just don't have to think about it. It gives you freedom to do all the nice, fun stuff that Disney's known for. So, smiling and giggling and taking pictures and, doing all these stuff above and beyond your job. If you didn't have a process to follow, well, you'd be thinking about all the stuff you had to do and you wouldn't be able to do the nice stuff. Now, as a business owner and entrepreneur, those same processes and systems that I've put in place in my current businesses give me as a business owner freedom from the business. I'm like, oh, you mean I don't have to sit around and babysit people? I said, I hired a general manager, put him in charge, and now he runs the systems and processes, and I just got to check in with him.
I love that.
Disney really was a great place for me. I mean, if I was going to have a basis for my career for the rest of my life, Disney was great for that. I did towards the end start to get the inkling that I make a lousy employee. I don't like to be told what to do. Just ask the first and second ex-Mrs. Morris. They will both tell you. But I did. I went on. I had a couple other corporate-y jobs. I had a large territory for a corporate food service company. I had some highfalutin accounts. They all sound great, but it still was work, NASA, the White House, some names that you might recall, Smithsonian, but it was still a job. Some high profile stuff, but still a job. Then, of course, I got fired from that. So again, I make a lousy employee. And I don't like it when somebody dumb tries to tell me what to do. That doesn't go over well either. So in 2007, started what every small boy dreams of doing, started a carpet cleaning business.
Of course. That would have been my next guess.
Exactly. A couple of reasons. I wanted to open a restaurant, but most restaurant concepts wanted me to have between 1 and 5 million liquid cash. Well, I didn't have that laying around.
What's the line? How do you make a small fortune in the restaurant business? Start with a large fortune?
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. And then don't open it, right?
They historically say that about racing. But the same is probably true in the food industry.
So I opened what I could afford, but I knew that I was going to create a premium level service about it because the area I live in, we have a lot of water, a lot of coastlines, a lot of pockets of affluence.
And you live near the Chesapeake Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so we're an offshoot of Washington, D.C., so we got a lot of politicians and attorneys and, all the high-powered people have their second or third or fourth home here. A lot of movie stars and musicians also have their estate here. So I was like, well, they need something, so let's do it.
Let's clean
the
carpets.
So I took all my Disney knowledge and packed it into the carpet cleaning business, priced it appropriately, and off to the races we went. '07 was a great year to start a business, by the way.
I started a technology business supporting road warriors in 2001, just before travel stopped.
Very good.
I understand.
Very good. Well, actually, it wasn't a bad year to start a business because I was at zero. I had nowhere to go but up. So everything was roses for me. I'm going up. All of my competitors were going down because, they were already up and they had nowhere to go. But I couldn't get any lower.
You had the benefit of low overhead.
Yeah, right. That too. So anyway, I made some good decisions as far as my marketing and as far as the positioning as a premium service. And people started asking me, hey, how do you do that? You don't look like you're working too hard, which I really wasn't. Most carpet cleaners will do between 6 and 7 jobs a day. My guys now that are on the road do 3 maybe and are making the same, if not more than that. But we can also offer a higher quality product and we don't have to rush. It's less wear and tear on equipment, less wear and tear on my employees' bodies, and we can do the nice stuff that Disney's known for. We can do that in a carpet cleaning business.
You mentioned less wear and tear on your people. A couple of years ago, we put a central air system, actually mini split system in our house. The proprietor of the company we wanted to go with said, if we aren't started by June 1st, it'll be fall. Well, why? Because I'm not sending my people up into your attic after June 1st. It's too hot. Because I take care of my people. I said, you're hired.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. Too many people just don't have that thought. They're like, nah, screw it. I'm here to make money. And that's really the downfall of a lot of companies because when it starts at the top, that permeates all the way down to the line level employees. And we were talking before we started recording about an experience I'm having with a hotel that I had some catering done. If you look at this hotel's website, the ownership, they have 5 key drivers for their business. Not one of them has to do with customer service or hospitality. They're all shareholder return or blah, blah, stuff like that. And if you look at the top 5 executives in the company, they all got chief revenue officer, ROI this, money this, money that. None of them have any hospitality background to it.
And none of them have ever stayed in any of those properties.
Probably not.
When AT&T was rolling out cellular service, the executives always thought that coverage was immaculate. Why? Because anytime they went on a road trip, temporary towers would be put up along their route. They would always have perfect service.
Exactly. And so when that is the direction and the theme of the business, that will flow down to your line level employees. I mean, one of my guys wanted to do an airport check-in in the lobby computer, and the lobby computer had this sign on it that said, "This station is not in operation." And so they went over to the front desk and said, "Is this computer going to be working soon?" And they said, "No, probably not. It hasn't been working in over a year."
Yeah, the subtitle there is "Sucks to be you."
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I've had the opposite experience. I've had hotel clerks say, "We're so sorry. Why don't you come behind the counter and use my computer, which is working, and we'll print it out here."
Exactly. We stayed at the Ritz. We had our event at the Ritz last November. And to give you an example, the Ritz will put a condom on a lemon for your tea service. I mean, it is. It's essentially, so when you squeeze the lemon, the seeds don't drop out into your tea.
I think it's actually mesh.
Well, whatever. Condom sounds funnier. But still, that's the level of detail that they go to.
Absolutely.
Versus the lemon we got at this place was in a little package, and I had to tear it open, and I hope to God it was lemon. I don't know what it was, and squirt it into my tea, but whatever. Fast forward to today, I own 3 home service companies. I have a general manager that runs those for me. Essentially, I kiss babies, cash checks. I spend 30 minutes a week with him, making sure business is going well. I've got a coaching business. I've got a consulting business, all centered on the customer experience and customer retention. The fun thing I get to do is about 4 or 5 times a year, I take business owners down to Disney for full immersion boot camps, where we teach you how to Disneyfy your business. And at the end of them, you get a blueprint on how to hit the road running Monday morning when you get home. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's really interesting. As I run a boutique coaching service, and I kind of offer that same white glove treatment. And my demand to my clients is, if you ever feel like you need to talk to me, pick up the phone, text. I don't care whether it's 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday. If you feel that you need to talk to me, I will actually be angry with you if you don't. And I have the privilege of being able to offer that.
And we offer the same thing in our carpet cleaning business. So one of the experiences we provide is, we actually call it scripting, is getting into the home. And one of the parts to it is me giving out my personal cell phone number to every home that we enter. Now, I mean, I got 3 guys on the road, so we're entering 3 times 9 homes, so it's 60, 70 homes a week. So I got 70 people a week getting my personal cell phone number. But it means a lot to the homeowner. It gives them a sense of somebody actually cares. I can count on one hand the number of times somebody's called it in the last 10 years.
Yeah. In the corporate world, you would be the executive sponsor.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Who says to the account, "I've got 10 salespeople selling you technology products. If you have an issue with any of them or with the products or need something with regard to the relationship, reach out to me personally." Same thing.
But not enough people do it.
Say more about that.
Well, like all of my competitors in the home service business know what I do as far as customer experience, as far as customer retention, but they don't copy it. I have a couple of theories on that. One is they're lazy. 2 is they're dumb. Maybe it's a combination of those 2.
Yeah.
And the one that I firmly believe is that they can't afford to do it because they're not charging a price that allows them to do it. So I alluded to the whole thing about how we get into the home. So I can walk you through how we get into a house. So it starts in the guy in the van. We park in the street. We don't park in the driveway because, God forbid, I got an oil leak. Now I got to clean something else up, right? We get out of the van, and he's in a clean uniform because he carries extra uniforms with him in case he gets dirty on the job before. He doesn't smell. because I don't allow cologne and I don't allow smoking on the job. Sorry. Last thing you want is the Marlboro man who just took a shower in Axe showing up in your living room.
Yeah.
It's just
Talking about how
disgusting.
clean your carpet's going to smell.
Yeah, it's just gross.
Yeah.
And he has a special mat with him, and he's got his tool bag, and he's got a little gift, and he goes up to the front door, he lays down a special mat, he knocks on the door, because friends knock, salespeople ring the bell, takes a couple of steps back, and he waits for the customer to answer the door. Customer opens the door, says, "Hi, my name's Josh. I'm here to create your healthy home. May I come in?" We don't just barge in. Then we do an exaggeration of wiping our feet on the special mat. Then we put little booties on our clean shoes. And as we're entering the home, we give Mrs. McGillicuddy a gift. Now, the gift is nothing extravagant. It's a little blue box with a bottle of spot remover, a bag of cookies, and that little note for me with my cell phone number thanking them for allowing us into their home. And if they had any problems, give us a buzz. That's all scripted out. Every one of my new clients gets exactly that. Now, the gift, as I said, it's nothing huge. It cost me less than $5 to do it, but it does a couple of things. One, it separates me from everybody else, because I don't know about you, Lee. When was the last time you had a home service company come to your house and give you a gift before they did any work? Okay. Probably hazard to guess they haven't.
Never. Yep.
Yeah, right. Never. Two, it starts a process called reciprocity. I give something to you. You feel compelled to give something back to me. So when we implemented this gift, we saw a 26% increase in our mid-tier package. Or if you want to convert that to dollars, about $65,000 a year more in sales when we implemented that gift. My competitors look at it like it's an expense.
Right.
But it's not.
Right.
It's an investment.
Yep.
And, people talk about it all the time. And that's what you want, is you want your business to be tellable. You talk about referrals and stuff like that. But if you don't give them a reason to talk about you to begin with, when was the last time you went home, you sat down at the dinner table and you said, "Oh my God, you'll never guess what happened at the oil change today." That conversation's not happening at anybody's dinner table. But with us, "Oh my God, you'll never guess what happened when the carpet cleaners were here today. They gave me a gift."
You live in the world of customer delight.
Well, I'd like to think so. Well, delivering it. I don't know if I've been delighted recently, but I deliver delight.
Yes. And so you're creating a brand experience that separates you from other people ostensibly who are in the same business. And for my listeners, I want you to hear the parallel between what we're talking about in a B2C business and what you deliver as an experience when you're calling on Thermo Fisher or Beyond Meat or Southwest Airlines, right? What's the experience that your customer, the potential stakeholder, has when you knock on the door, when you pick up the phone, when you send them dimensional direct mail, which almost nobody does. Almost nobody.
Almost nobody.
It's worked for me for many decades.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
I actually was talking to a client this morning, and he was hooked on postcards for lead generation. He's a financial advisor. His target market was attorneys.
Yeah.
And he's trying to do a postcard campaign to him. I'm like, dude, why are you hung up on postcards? Stop. Just get rid of it. It's a media. I said, if the media is right for the message to the market, fine. But in this case, it's not. You're trying to get attention. So, and I agree with you on the three-dimensional mail, the lumpy mail, whatever people like to call it. My favorite, one of them, especially when you're like starting out, is the foot in the door. Mailing a rubber foot with the headline on the sales letter saying, "I'm just trying to get my foot in the door." One of my clients, I just got the report last week. Do you remember the old Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken where it said, "I need more cowbell"?
Yep. More cowbell.
More cowbell. Everybody needs more cowbell.
Yep.
Boom, boom, boom. He picked 10 clients or 10 prospects, and he sent out 10 cowbells with a cowbell letter. He got 5 responses. One said, "Cute, I'm not interested," or gave him a meeting. 50% response.
Yeah.
You don't get that with postcards.
Right.
You might get 0.1% if you're lucky.
Last spring, I sent out a little silver bucket and a little silver spoon and a bag of sunflower seeds. And I said, let's grow some business this year. Got a lot of response.
Love that. Well, the one I've been using as a follow-up or a second step is actually a postcard, but it goes inside of an envelope. You can see it. I don't know if your listeners can, but meetings with great coffee are 100% more effective. So it's a postcard. On the back, I can write a little note.
Yep.
but I send them the coffee, and it is a pour-over coffee, so they can tear this open and they can, make their own cup of coffee. I get more thank yous for it. No, I don't want to do any business with you, but damn, the coffee was good. No, I'm just kidding. That's gotten me more meetings than, and it costs nothing to send that out. I mean, it's under $5 with postage. And people are like, oh, I can't afford that. You got to understand your lifetime value of a customer, which so many people don't. Like my guy with the cowbells. I said, well, he's in one of those cost reduction companies like, Schooley Mitchell or something like that. If you get one of these guys, what's he worth to you? Probably on average might be, $5,000 commission to me. And I'm like, well, would you spend $100 to get a $5,000 commission? He goes, yeah.
All day, every day.
I'm like, so he goes, well, the cowbell could be expensive. I'm like, it's $10 with postage with the cowbell.
Yeah.
The hell, And you got $90 left over to spend more. If they don't respond to the cowbell, now what can you send them? You still got $90 to send something else. So, Lee, I think you'll agree. People want to be entertained these days. Think about where our emphasis as a society is on entertainment. It's not an education. We pay movie stars bajillions of dollars, and public school teachers get maybe $65,000, $70,000 to start. That's what they want. They want to be entertained. The cardinal sin of marketing is being boring.
Right. Absolutely.
Do you know Stu Heinecke?
I know the name.
Oh my God. We got to get him on your podcast. He'd be great for you. He's a cartoonist, I think with the New Yorker, but he just created the Heinecke window, and it's a FedEx envelope. And he cuts out a square in the envelope, and he does a custom cartoon for the person he's sending the sales letter to. So it goes in the center of the FedEx.
Is he the guy that wrote the book, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone?
That's him.
Yep.
That's him. Yep.
He talks about sending large portrait size cartoons, and he says he gets, a 50 to 100% response rate.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant. Great guy.
You have other people in the industry vying for the same dollars that you are getting, and they are taking the minimum viable path to remain in business. And you are getting hits because you are not taking that minimum viable path. What you are doing is creating delight, creating a brand experience that customers don't expect. They pay for at some level. We did research years ago, and CIOs told us that vendors should stop sending remote-controlled helicopters to them. Why? Because they know they're paying for them, right? Here's someone in a corporate world. And it was an interesting thing for a while. This was long before drones. And their perspective was this $250 item, the cost of that is showing up in my $1 million IT acquisition. And they thought it didn't look good. And of course, most of that swag goes to their kids anyway. The other side of it is today, if you want to stand out, you have to do something like that. And maybe not a drone. Coffee's great. When you understand the language of value of the customer, what they care about, you can make a deposit. I'm using language that I use with my coaching clients. You can make a deposit in the relationship bank account, as your guy does when they wipe their feet on the mat. The person who is welcoming them in notices the care, and they make that unconscious connection between the care they're showing now is probably the same care they're going to show when they actually do the work. And I don't even know what work they're going to do yet, but they're probably going to take care of it.
100%. And that's the impression, we can only give one first impression. And hence, again, no smoking, no cologne. And when we're at the front door, you better be looking and sounding your best and doing exactly what I said about the wiping the feet, because that's going to be the difference between them sitting in their kitchen, having a cup of tea, watching the TV while you're working, versus them hovering over you for the next 3 hours while you're working, making sure you're getting in all the nooks and crannies.
It's so funny you call that out, because when I onboard new inside salespeople, I tell them exactly the same thing. These people travel by phone only. And so their first touch is by phone. And I tell them, whether it's a small company or a big company, save perhaps my most recent employment at Google, the customer's never heard of us, right? They've never heard of us. You are their first brand touch. You are their first brand impression. Be professional. Take your time. Don't read the script. Have a freaking conversation. Understand who you're talking to.
Yeah, a lot of that is glossed over.
In the sake of efficiency. Let's be efficient. Screw the customer. Yeah. It's all about the stakeholder. It's all about the PE firm owning the property.
But there is a balance, and multiple companies, big companies, have shown that if you take care of the customer, money will follow. Disney has shown that if you take care of the customer, money will follow. Harley Davidson has shown. Apple has shown. Zappos has shown. Amazon, for all of its faults, has shown if you take care of the customer, money will follow. So, I don't know what other, examples you need that if you take care of your customer, it's when you start nickel and diming them to death, resort fee. Well, what do I get for that? I don't know. We just add it to every invoice.
Yeah, nothing.
You tell me what's in it? No. Well, then take it off.
Part of the issue is that companies are so focused on the quarterly results. We have to show the street this quarter that we're doing good, that we did better than last quarter. This quarter is better than last year's second quarter. And that drives, I'll politely call it bad behavior. I'll impolitely call it shitty behavior.
Right.
Because I have to swear at some point in this podcast. It's shitty behavior. It is a short-term loss to the company. It is a long-term loss to the company because that lifetime customer value, you get one chance to set the tone and many years to fix it or not.
But you also have to continually reinvest in the customer. You know this. It's extremely expensive to get a new customer in the front door. Ridiculous numbers. On the flip side, it is really inexpensive to keep them.
You already know who they are.
You already know who they are.
They already know who you are. And they have the experience of having worked with you.
Exactly. I'll give you a quick example just because I got the numbers in my head from the last report. My carpet cleaning business cost me $135 to get a new customer in the front door. My minimum charge is $199. What's that leave me? $64 if I'm doing the math right? To pay my tech, put gas in the van, doesn't leave me with much. It cost me $22 per person per year to market to my existing customers. $100 and some odd more profitable continuing the relationship with my existing customers. At B2C, B2B, it doesn't matter. The frame of mind from the customer's point of view is always going to be, what have you done for me lately?
Yep.
Now, if you're on some kind of contract where if you're, managed service provider and, the only time you ever really hear from your provider is when, oh crap, something went down. Well, that ain't good because that means you only hear from them when there's a mistake that's made. So what are you doing in the interim to remind them that you exist? Because it's not your customer's job to remember you. It's your job to remind the customer that you exist. So what is your existence program, your existence system to keep in front of them? That doesn't have to be extravagant, but what are you doing? Do you send them a newsletter? Like in the mail? Do you send them a postcard? Do you send them birthday cards? What are you doing to make sure that they remember that you exist? Because the last thing also that sucks, and it's more transactional than it is relational, is if the only time they ever hear from you is when you want to sell them something, well, that's not a relationship. Yeah. That's just an exchange of money.
Here's a simple example of brilliance. What's the single most frustrating thing that happens twice a year to car owners? And to the minute when it's going to happen. Twice a year, fall and spring.
Change the tires? I don't know.
Changing the clock.
Oh, changing the clock. Oh, God, yeah.
Changing the clock. Where's my manual? How do I do this? I don't remember. There are a small handful of car salespeople who are in it for the long term, who send out emails these days. In the past, it was postcards. On your 2015 Audi Q5, here's how to change the clock from standard time to savings time, right? And you get that 3 days in advance. It's a simple touch from your salesperson that he or she still exists. It saves you 20 minutes and it's a feel-good moment. Oh, thank goodness. And what are you going to do next time you need a car? You're going to call that person because they're top of mind.
It's brilliant.
Yep. And you can automate it, right? You send out cards or whatever, create the process, program it in, forget about it. Back to your point, create those processes. You don't have to manage them.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go find out from my customers what they drive, my clients. There's so many parallels between B2B excellence and B2C, in part because our experience has become increasingly consumerized. 20 years ago, we didn't expect the same level of service in business. We didn't expect the same level of capability, right? With technology products in business, can't be like the iPhone, right? It's got to be hard. Today, people want it to be easy. They need it to be easy. They expect it to be easy. The risk is that marketing to businesses is different than marketing to consumers. There's a buying group. There are multiple stakeholders. On the other hand, and this is where people get screwed up, selling to businesses is the same as selling to individuals because you don't sell to businesses. You sell to people. And you have to delight those people. You have to understand what they care about. You have to understand their language of value. If their value is cheap, you don't lead with value. You might disqualify them in your case. We're not the cheapest around. If you want cheap, I can give you a long list of people who are not good, not fast, and cheap. If you want good and reasonably fast, we can do that. That's who we are.
Yep.
But if you want cheap,
It is.
no.
And I think that's where a lot of people, business owners, regardless of the size of your company, and regardless of whether you're B2B or B2C, have a hard time saying no to sales. They think they've got to make every sale, and at which point they will jeopardize what they're about by discounting. I mean, and it's just a trip to the bottom. I mean, that's all it is a race. Once you start that, you devalue yourself, you devalue your product, and
then you hate your customers.
You can't recover from it.
You hate your customers. Oh yeah. God, they're making me do this for this little money. And your employees are getting squeezed. There's so many people that are willing to race to the bottom of that pit. Let them go.
And there is no competitive advantage to being second cheapest.
Yep.
I mean, you can't use that in a headline. Hey, we're second cheapest. That doesn't work because they're going to all ask, well, who's cheapest? We're going with them.
Yeah.
So, you might as well go the other direction. Offer the quality, offer the experience, command the premium pricing. Again, I mean, everybody's happy. Your customers are happy because you've attracted the customers that appreciate that kind of experience. You're not attracting the looky-loos, the coupon clippers, the tire kickers. Your employees are happier. They're not working. I mean, they're working hard. You're not beating them to death. It's less wear and tear on your buildings, on your vehicles. I mean, and who wants to work like, some of these guys? I mean, I'll work hard. Don't get me wrong. I'll put in the hours. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to drink beer and eat bonbons, not, ramen noodles. Just saying.
Yeah, Groupon did a study about what happens with those coupon users, just like the waves on the beach. Wherever the discount is, that's where they go. You don't build business by offering someone a discount. You play to their language of value. I'm a big fan of Michael Porter, and second cheapest was never a phrase he ever uttered. It's differentiation is good.
Yes.
But second
100%.
cheapest never crossed his mind.
It's head trash for most business owners. And when I don't want to say I was poor, but there was a point where I wouldn't pay for my service because I'm like, who the hell's, you know what I mean? You got to remember, you are not your customer. So you got to get that out of your head.
My language of value is different than someone else's language of value. My view of the world is different than someone. That is so important for salespeople to remember because salespeople typically go in with as you said, this is what I would do. Well, that's not what the customer would do. That's not how they think of the world. They think of the world the way they think of the world, not the way you think of the world.
Yeah, 100%. And to be able to change that frame of mind, it's not easy, and raising prices, once you do it and it becomes a habit, then it's a lot easier than the first time you do it. And you're not squirming in your chair like, oh my God, people are going to leave. Well, that's actually good.
Right.
If you eliminate some of the bottom people by raising your prices. I mean, honestly, if you're not keeping up with inflation with your price increases, I mean, you're screwed anyway. I mean, mathematically, you can raise your prices 20% and lose 20% of your customers and still be as profitable, if not more profitable than you were before. So
probably more profitable.
You're
doing less work for more money.
You have to look at it. And then, when you're adding the value, people always think, well, I got to add more stuff and the stuff's got to cost money, and I can't do that because if I raise the price then my margin didn't get any better. I'm like, well, you're not adding widgets, okay, or things that have a physical cost to them. Think about the last time you were at Best Buy and you bought the big TV and they said, would you like the 3-year warranty for $89? That didn't cost Best Buy a penny to offer that to you. You bought it. You bought air is what you bought. And the only time Best Buy is going to have to shell out any money is if you redeem it. I mean, I've been offering warranties and guarantees for the last 13, 14 years. It's part of the package. It definitely contributes to the value of the package. And I don't have to worry about shelling out any hard cash until somebody redeems that. And in which case, which it hardly ever happens, it's still pennies on the dollar when somebody does that.
Vance, what are a couple of the things that you learned at Disney that really surprised you?
Aside from the big lesson of the process and systems is the latitude that a line level employee has to take care of a guest.
There's no, I'm sorry, that's not my table.
Exactly. There's no that. There's no, sorry, that's not my department. That's not my problem. We would often, people would get to us, even after check-in, they'd get into one of our restaurants and, a server would overhear them complaining about their flight. Like, oh my God, flight was delayed 3 hours. They lost the luggage. We got here 7 hours late and, they're just, they're exhausted. So the server would not only bring, a round of drinks for the adults, but they'd bring the round of kiddie drinks for the kids. And which, you might expect. But to top it off, the server would give everybody at the table like 2 rounds of fast passes.
Mm-hmm.
So that they could get to the front of the line at their favorite ride.
Making my day better and better.
This is a server in a restaurant. What did it cost Disney for that server to give those fast passes away?
About 11 cents. Yeah.
If that.
What? The fast passes zip. The drinks, 11 cents.
The drinks, 11 cents, yes. Yeah. And who's going to remember that?
Right.
Think about how much a Disney vacation is worth. $5,000, $10,000.
Right.
The server just gave away, let's call it $1. So for $1, one, they're going to talk about it.
Yep.
Oh my God, Susie was so nice in the restaurant. She gave, we looked frazzled. She gave us some drinks. It was great. And then the next day we were able to get in the front of the line because Susie thought we needed it.
And by the way, it's a promotion for the Fast Pass, which people will then buy in the future. Because once you've experienced the Fast Pass, or in my case, VIP parking at Mansfield for concerts, I'll never go back to parking in the great beyond, out in 6 minutes as opposed to 2.5 hours. I'll pay that $200 every concert. Exactly. Same thing with the Fast Pass. Once you experience it, right? So that dollar investment is probably worth $1,000 back to Disney over the lifetime value of the customer.
But think about it. The original problem wasn't even Disney's problem.
Yeah. I love that.
Wasn't even their problem.
Yeah.
But we took care of it because we know the value of the customer.
Uh-huh.
And we also know that cranky customers don't buy because cranky, they don't have fun. If you're not having fun, you don't buy anything.
I just had a conversation with a coaching client who wants a prospect to show up at a trade show their company is putting on in a couple of weeks in Boston. And I said, where's this person live? In Boston. Send them a black car. 8:30 in the morning, black car shows up in front of their house. It's going to cost your company $100. They will not look out the window and go, black car. Nah, I'm going to go back to working from home today. No, they're going to get in that black car. They're going to have the experience of going to the trade show, seeing the salesperson, having the interaction the salesperson needs to have. And it's, what does it cost the big vendor? $100. In the scope of $1 million transaction, what percentage is that? I'm not even going to calculate it. And furthermore, that customer is going to say, what did the vendor do for me? They sent me a limousine to make sure that I got there comfortably. Yep. And then the salesperson took me out to dinner.
The other big lesson, and this is, everybody can use this, is Disney is a master at the theory of primacy and recency. So you remember all the stuff that happens at the beginning, everything that happens at the end, and the stuff in the middle is kind of mushy. So Disney, when you park, if you drove there, want you to have an incredible parking experience.
Yeah, they shuttle you.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, again, you're going to be cranky. And if you're cranky, you won't have fun. And if you won't have fun, you won't buy. So they even know that as you're coming in, you've got to have a great parking experience. So that's your primacy. Recency, you know why Disney has fireworks every night of the year? That's your recency. That is Disney's Kiss Goodnight. That is the, oh my God, everybody stands there. There's beautiful music. There's fireworks.
It's spectacular.
It erases all of the heat, humidity, $19 hamburgers, the 16 hours you waited in line to see Cinderella. All that stuff is gone. And you just, you're standing there looking at the fireworks and all that other crap just melts away. It's the Kiss Goodnight. That started with Walt. People were asking, why are we having this parade every day when nobody expects it? And Walt was like, exactly.
Right, because nobody's
expecting it. That's why we're doing it.
Right.
And they did the same thing with fireworks at the end of the night. Well, in California, they did it because the park was so small, you could do it in like 5 or 6 hours.
Right.
So they did the fireworks in the evening, and it kept people in the park because they wanted to go see the fireworks.
Then they bought dinner, did another couple of rides.
But yeah, if you can figure out your initial point of contact, what I call moment zero, and make that an experience, and then whatever your Kiss Goodnight is, that final piece, you got them lock, stock, and barrel. They ain't going anywhere. They'll be with you for life.
Take just a moment and outline your workshop.
The Disney event. So yes, I take business groups and business owners down to Disney World in Orlando for 3 or 4 day, what I call boot camps, workshops. We'll spend half the day in the classroom going through pretty much everything that makes Disney function. And then we'll go into the theme parks and see all of that stuff we learned in the classroom. We'll see it actually in action. The goal at the end of this is for you to have a blueprint for when you get home Monday morning to Disneyfy your business. So it's not just a feel good, la-di-da, walk through the parks, etc. This is, yes, you will have fun. You can't go to Disney and not have fun. But the gist of it is, I would get shot if I said, no, we can't go on a ride. But we do a lot of experiential things. The whole point of it is, here's how Disney creates experiences. My job is to show people how to adapt what Disney is doing into their business. So
have them feel the experience and then
100%
adapt it to their own business.
And then, how do we, if you're a dentist, great. I've taken a lot of orthodontists to Disney because their in-office experience usually is atrocious.
It's the sound of that damn drill.
Yeah, well, dusty houseplants, the smell is just, it's antiseptic, it's disgusting. I follow it up because I don't like to just leave everybody hanging. I actually follow up with 90 days of coaching so that, we keep you on track. And it wasn't just 3 days in the wilderness at Disney. You actually are on the right track for Disneyfying and creating those experiences and being able to monetize them. And you're on the way to that higher customer retention, those customers for life.
That's brilliant. Vance, where can people find you?
Best bet is the website, which is deliverservicenow.com. For your listeners, I just created, about last month, a new hot sheet. It's called 52 Ways to Wow Without Breaking the Bank. So 52 different low-cost or no-cost ways to wow. And you can find that at wow52ways.com. So you got one wow for every week of the year. It should keep you busy.
That reminds me, in the first wave of the web world, I put up a website for Foley engines. I think they were slightly east of Springfield, Massachusetts. They wowed their customers by taking a Foley tech tip. It was a piece of paper with a description of how to do something mechanically, and they would stick it into every package that went out. They had a whole rack of these tips, and they would just randomly grab one, grab another. And we took those tech tips and we put it on their website. It was the most visited page on their website for years because people loved those tips. It was a way of delighting customers at point of receipt of their items, right? You get a head gasket in, you get a new carburetor in, there's a Foley tech tip in there. Probably wasn't even related to what they ordered. It was kind of happenstance. Customers loved it.
Yeah. One of my clients is a luxury shampoo manufacturer, and he's always throwing in little cards with hair tips. Might not be for your kind of hair, but always some kind of beauty tip going in there. So, yep, 100%.
So you gave us 2 websites. I'll put links in for each of those, one for your practice and the second for those tips. And we'll put those in to the show notes. Just a couple of things to take away. You talked about creating the processes so that they can be self-running and you don't have to think about them. Like this is at some level Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're worrying about the basics, you can't be taking care of your family. If you're worrying about your family, you're not taking care of the community. If you're not taking care of community, you can't be worrying about society. You've said, let's not worry about the basic fundamentals of the business. And you as the owner want your employees want to be focusing on delighting the customer. That reminds me of the inner game conversation, the self one, self two. Tim Galloway says, if you're thinking about how to make that serve, you missed. If you're thinking about how to hit the backhand, you've missed. Let the process take care of itself. You know what good looks like. Let the body do it. You focus on other things. That's absolutely brilliant. The other key takeaway I want to mention is the primacy and recency. That first touch and the last touch. And the stuff in the middle is kind of the business. But the first touch is what starts the relationship off at whatever level it's at and whatever value transference there is, and the recency. What did you do for me recently? Again, that car salesperson of sending out the communication saying on the 72 Ford Valiant, here's how to change the clock. I don't think the Valiant had a clock, but in any event, it's thinking of your customers and doing things that don't take much work necessarily and providing delight.
And a lot of it is, what would grandma do?
What would grandma do?
handwritten thank you note. Oh my God. I mean, nobody does it anymore. I bet my entire career on handwritten thank you notes right now.
And by the way, speaking from personal experience, for those that have shitty handwriting who can't write a note better than a doctor would, you can actually handwrite a note using a font that looks legit and then sign at the bottom.
And you can automate it. There's two companies out there that I know that actually have those robots. They put the pen in the robot hand and it actually writes the card. So like if somebody's really anal about it and they want to look and see if there's an indentation from the pen, that company's out there too. I use them. Well, we can't write 75 thank you cards. Actually, we used to rent a grandma. We would go down to the senior center and we'd just buy them all, sandwiches and whatnot. And they would sit there and do all our thank you cards for us. And we'd just buy them lunch and they were happy.
That's brilliant. Vance, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you, Lee, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks, Vance.
Thank you.